Imagine a story real quick that I've actually been writing. Also, just keep this stuff in mind when it comes down to things as we go through this video. But let's say there was this entity called the Sphere that comes through and fooled the team of Rwby, and essentially they are manipulated to think that there's an enemy of remnants that needs to be stopped, even though the enemy is the main character of that story, who doesn't necessarily does anything with remnants. And so essentially Rwby and Weiss decide to go jump that fool, but end up failing, and then Weiss end up leaving while Rwby got captured. Even though the main character does absolutely nothing to Rwby, essentially basically want her to better herself, to be a better person, to choose to be a leader if that's what she wants to do, and all that type of jazz. And essentially Rwby actually agrees with that and, you know, try to sit around, try to better herself with the main character of that story. Then you see that Weiss at some point in time comes back to find Rwby, but Rwby says that she doesn't necessarily want to go back yet because she has to figure things out. She doesn't necessarily know if Team Rwby has been doing the right thing the entire time. But when it comes down to things, as you can kind of imagine, with Yang, you can imagine that, you know, her sister being gone for so long and not necessarily knowing what exactly is going on, you can think that something has happened. And with Yang being an angry person and also being, you know, worried about her sister and things of that sort, and knowing all that you know of what Yang is, it's very easy for a demon or despair to come through to manipulate her emotions, to manipulate what she is thinking and stuff like that, to not think clearly. So obviously Yang ain't about to stand for that and is about to go ahead and go find Rwby. But at the end of all things, she tries to go ahead and infiltrate the place where the main character lives. However, she doesn't necessarily find Rwby. So instead, the sphere talks to her again, and Yang ends up taking the love interest of a character that, you know, the main character has in that world. And so essentially, what the whole thing comes down to is that you understand from that, you understand what is causing Yang to do this stuff, why she is doing this stuff and acting out, and all that sort of jazz, and what comes to the character and why she's being a villain at the moment in time, right? Why is Yang acting out? Because she wants Rwby back. What is causing it? Her anger and despair is playing her. You understand that. You have a clear idea of the motive of what she's doing and why she's doing it. Even though I'm cutting out certain information from the story I wrote, you can understand that if Yang was a villain, a true villain, you can understand exactly what is going on and why she is the way she is, obviously. But when it comes to characters like Cinder, you don't necessarily get that, honestly. What? Because she had a sad backstory? Because she was basically the bad version of Cinderella and ended up killing somebody as a plot twist? That's not good, honestly. Compared to what I did with Yang versus what is actually being done to Cinder, you can kind of tell like which one has more of a more interesting motive and which one is more interesting to learn more about when it comes to storytelling. Which one do you prefer? The more boring, generic, you know, Cinderella storytelling of Cinder, or the more I have to save my sister but also I'm being manipulated by some unknown entity story of Yang? Let me know which one you're interested in, because one of them sounds more interesting than the other. Now, if you'd like to know the full reason of why Yang is doing all this sort of stuff and why everything went up to this point, then please go ahead and watch the Kokatsu story. I put so much time and effort to writing that story, honestly, and it seemed like people really care for that. So, you know, watch it. Please enjoy. But when it comes down to things, when it comes to Cinder, she just doesn't have that good actual character drive to her, honestly. What? She wants power because she just wants the power so she doesn't go through anything like that again or something? But even that's not necessarily cleared up in the damn story, honestly. Hell, Watts make fun of her for that shit. Like, what are we doing here, honestly? Like, if Rwby were to end and have an ending in sight, there is 4 different ways I can see this go. 1, Salem is the main bad guy, and that's the person that Rwby needs to fight and beat. But at the end of all things, what would you do with Cinder in that plot? Kill her off? If that was the case, you should have just left her dead a long time ago. Or 2, make Cinder the main bad guy, which is not the greatest idea, but at the same time, it's like the better idea out of the bunch of ideas that you probably could think up, if I'm just being honest with you. So you know, that's also like a thing that you could possibly do. And maybe then make her like an absolute threat. Maybe kill Crow or kill Team Coffee or kill one member of Team Juniper or something like that. That would be an interesting way of doing things. Not make her sympathetic, make her an actual villain or something like that. Number 3, and this is a horrible one, go after the gods and fight them, which will be a very stupid take because no, we don't need that. And number 4, just make everybody sympathetic and no one ends up dying, which is obviously the worst possible route that you can possibly go, right? And again, when it comes to Salem, like what's Cinder supposed to do against her, honestly, right? Supposed to get the Fall Maiden's power, use that shit, and then just like fight it against Cinder, like I mean against Salem, like no, that's not how that works. And plus, that would be a waste of everybody's time if that's what she was planning to do overall, right? And the thing is about making Cinder a sympathetic villain, which shouldn't be done. The problem with that is that she has done so much shit, and now you're just like, oh, but we can sympathize with her. It's okay. No, this is the same woman that ends up, you know, breaking down Beacon, being the person that also has been in Thorn and Rwby and them side for like a hot ass minute. Also, the same person who killed Ozpin, same person that killed a pair of Nikos, which is still some nonsense. Pyrrha was fine, and I can see why John wanted to clap that, but when it comes down to things, she's just done too much shit. She's done way too much shit and nonsense, and it's like, I don't necessarily think that that will be a good way to end the series, honestly. To make her a sympathetic villain? What? That doesn't make any kind of sense. And then even if you had like Emerald there to kind of do things, honestly, if you were going to go a sympathetic route, Emerald shouldn't have been a hero. She should have just been, or be on the hero side. She should have just been like on Cinder's side still, but they kind of just be in their little bubble, and that's kind of is what it is, and that's fine, right? But and then they can dip off and do whatever they want. But even still with that, that's still not great. But now it's like, oh, since Emerald's on that side, and if Emerald talks to Cinder, maybe they can all become friends, or at least help save the problem that's right there in front of them that they need to face right now. That's not good. Like, don't do something like that. That's not nice. That's not a good way of ending a story when it comes to Cinder. No, like, she's been craving power for so long, just to what? To get the Neo treatment? Basically, just to be there, just to be irrelevant as hell. Honestly, even though Neo is fine as hell and definitely was my favorite character, and still kind of is my favorite character, but still, when it comes down to things, it's just like, no. No, that's not how you do things with Cinder. There's only so many things you can do with Cinder at this point, but that's not how she should go out. Apologize and now I dip off into a tree. Like, no, that's not how that should work. Cinder was an asshole from the jump. Cinder was an asshole from the whole thing of Beacon. Cinder should not be sympathized with, honestly. She should be a villain and be treated as such. Why are we trying to sympathize with her? Why are we trying to be nice to her in some shape and form? I don't necessarily know. It will be the wrong choice, honestly. If that's the case, you might as well chuck in some random bullshit, honestly, and just let the fans decide what the hell they want to do, honestly. That will be an even weirder thing to happen, but at the same time, it's like, well, F it, because who cares at this point? And at this point, the only Cinder I give a shit about is the Cinder for Killer Instinct. Hey Cinder, hit him with that ultra combo real quick.
Supreme victory! Perfect.
That is the route I would like to see. Cinder just being an absolute asshole person and just killing everybody, or just being an absolute threat to all of humanity when it comes down to things. And that's the thing I would like to see her do. However, I don't feel like they're going to do that. I feel like Rooster Teeth they're going to go that boring ass route of what they always were going to do. Probably take Cinder, make her sympathetic because of Emerald, and then now she's gonna be with Team Rwby and face off. They're gonna even get a little cute, I don't know, cute ass name or some shit for their group or whatever. But anyway, Cinder is basically gonna probably go sympathetic, probably gonna get her team to come through in some shape or form. Neo probably be there too, just because. And then when it comes down to everything, like it's just gonna be is what it is. Cinder's gonna be sympathetic. Salem's gonna be the big bad. They're gonna just try to stop Salem, and then Cinder's probably gonna either walk free or she's gonna basically just go atone for her sins and stuff like that, and go on a path of atonement like it's Naruto out this hoe and stuff like that, right? And it's just like, come on, is that really all it takes to, is that really all it takes for this woman? Really, was all that take was just a damn pep talk about her past and shit like that, right? Like, and there's so many villains characters that is so much better written than literally anything Cinder is. Shredder from TMNT has a better story. Yes, it's power as well, but it's because some girl that he liked died on accident, and then when it comes down to things, he blame it on Master Splinter, and that's the reason why he is the way he is. Then you also have things like, I don't know, Toga from My Hero Academia, who honestly wanted to be free and do things her own way, but everybody keep downplaying her because of her quirk and her ability and how she is, thanks to that quirk and ability and stuff like that. And hell, even in a recent chapter of My Hero, finally closing off her chapter of this entire story, I would say, she finally has someone that can actually care for her, to actually let her be herself and, be happy in a weird way throughout all this stuff, right? And that's a beautifully written, honestly, chapter of what the hell happened in My Hero. That's like my favorite one so far. And Toge by far is probably the best damn character in the show. Even Obito went down the same route as Shredder, honestly. Literally was starting a whole war because Ren's fine ass died by Kakashi on accident. And then later on realizes, oh, okay, I kind of effed up. Let me try to fix my mistakes and stuff like that, right? At least he had a proper way of going back into being, like a decent person, right? Even if it wasn't still not the best thing, but still, it is what it is when it comes down to things. He had a better reason and better excuse of doing it for the plot and stuff like that, right? But Cinder has none of that, and it's so sad what they did to her character. Again, as I said before, Rwby is a show with interesting concepts of characters and an interesting world to play around with, but the way they went around with it, I ain't gonna lie, it honestly blows. But that's essentially what I have to say when it comes down to the ending of what Rwby could potentially do. Now, if you want to see an actual good story with Rwby characters being used in some ways that you probably didn't think, then again, please go to my Kokatsu story playlist and watch that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and straight up just warn you, there is a lot of nudity in this show. There is a lot of sexy things that kind of happen, and Rwby is no damn secret. It is going to happen to them too, and it did technically already happen. So I'm just going to give you a fair ass warning. We go on unhinged on a lot of topics when it comes to that show, and to be perfectly honest, we do not care. It is not built for everybody. If you can't handle that, perfectly fine. Have a nice day. But if you're someone that is very curious to see where things kind of go and how things kind of is, again, really would recommend that you watch that entire series. It's a bit of a long one, but like, it's definitely worth your time if you just want to watch something good with an actual with an actual group of characters that you will really sit down and care for. I'm just gonna be honest, again, you might like the writing, you might do. But when it comes down to things, that's essentially all I have for you for this one. Again, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on the way out. Also follow me on the socials. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, Patreon is available as well. Until then, it's your boy Jay. Sign off. Have a blessed day.